Our minimum wage is 30,000. If you depend on what you want to use, if you use the official rate, the official rate would give you $72 per month for the Nigerian wage, compared to the 2011 when it was $115. However, if you take it further, if you want to use the parallel market, which is the black market, which most transactions happen around, it is actually $55 per month for the Nigerian worker. The standard of living is quite high in Nigeria. The inflation rate currently is put at 17.6%. So what is there to cut? If you go to the, do we have enough workers? No. If you look at the unemployment rate in Nigeria, it is skyrocketing, it is high. Let's go to the politicians. Let's go to the cost of running government. Those are the things we should cut. We should not look at the cost of paying teachers and paying workers. However, we should look at fair taxation to raise more money. If we want to cut anything, we have to cut the cost of running governance, which is the cost of politicians and all of that.
The Nigerian worker still finds himself or herself amongst the world's poorest people that we have around. Just recently, the proportion of poverty in Nigeria increased more than that of countries like India, DR Congo, Ethiopia, and Tanzania. So in general, when you now decompose the allocation that goes for social contribution, like how much goes for pension, national health insurance service, access to housing scheme, the Nigerian worker is the worst hit globally. You just have salaries built up into one starch of monthly payment. If you take away the components for health, for education, for transport, for social insurance, for old elderly persons, for persons with disabilities, for persons that have vulnerable population in their family circle, like trying to bring children back to school and address transportation costs, access to electricity and clean water, the real wage even goes way below the inflation and adjusted and exchange rate adjusted value of the wage. Despite the increasing trend in total public expenditure, the real share that goes to the Nigerian worker is very, very abysmal. Then the federal government budget is prepared in a way that does not give a lot of information to allow for gender disaggregated analysis of the wage component of the federal government budget. If you look at the access to the palliatives, payment to frontline workers, the Nigerian worker was amongst the worst paid frontline workers in the West African region. So in other words, during that period that you have workers risking their life to serve as frontline workers during the COVID-19 era, Nigerian workers risked their life, yes, but the emolument, the payment, the compensation they got was discriminated across work sector. And I'll give a detailed example. Health workers in isolation centers were paid, but workers at the gates, at the accounting desks, at the audit desks, at the administrative desks were not paid. And these were the people that had first access to COVID-19 victims. So as from the gatesman to the transport worker to the accountant that received the payment from the sick person, all these persons were affected. Nurses and midwives were all exposed to the negative impact of COVID-19 because there was even PPE distribution inequality amongst public sector workers. And during the COVID-19, most private sector workers, hospitals and public and service delivery outlets were all shut down. It became very clear how important it is during the COVID-19 era to invest in public service delivery because they were more resilient than others.
A lot of investment is done around the aged, the aging staff of government, and then as within that, it shows that there is possibility of the presence of ghost workers. And then because the bulk of the money is going to that age, no space for employment of young people to replace as people goes out. And it goes a long way also to show you that most people who are leaving the services do not go with their retirement benefit on time. There is need to intensify the use of the integrated personnel and payee integrated system so that we are able to weed out all these ghost workers from government, because the presence, there is a lot of investment that is going there. Tarifa just mentioned the fact that there is the lack of transparency in the implementation of our public wage bills. We need to minimize the debt. In the past presentations, we have seen the opportunities that a country can use to reduce the debt, either by refusing to take it or by expanding so let Nigeria close the issues of debt, stop it, and then increase internal revenue system, but then block the leakages and then the issues of tax waivers.
If you look at this, our budget for 2022, a budget of about 39 trillion, 6 trillion, which constitutes about more than 34% of it, is going into deficit, will be deficit financing. What it means is that borrowing continues. Between 2016, 2015 to now, when the present government took the stage, we've borrowed more than 22 trillion. Yeah, that's about 30 billion USD or more, a little more. Yeah, but we've nothing to show for that. The conditionalities of IMF, World Bank, African Development Bank, Chinese Bank, from all the areas that we are picking this money, we have to adhere, to what their condition is. And what it means is shrinking the public sector, to make space to service debt, because debt servicing is obligatory. Between January and July, we've used up to 98% of our revenue to service debt. There's no country that will sustain, within short dimension. It's not sustainable. So what it means is that the sectors will keep suffering, and while we keep swelling in high debt.